I'm Matt Landau from VRMB, and this is Unlocked Season 8, First Mover Status. Today's episode features Victoria O'Connell, who's the co-founder and CEO of GoLightly, the first invite-only vacation rental marketplace for women, which is equally as innovative and straightforward as it sounds. Women plan a majority of the trips, so Victoria made a listing site for them. Well, the idea started off a little bit less savory than that, as you'll hear in the interview. But I'd like to encourage you for the span of the next hour to put your niche marketing hat on, as if you're going to define and double define and go all in, risk it all, recognizing that the output of investing in your niche is true, sustainable, and profitable community over time. Arguably the most valuable dimension of any direct booking campaign. This episode's brought to you by Point Central, the leaders in smart home automation, and Breezeway, a property care and operations platform. Like with every episode this season, I asked Victoria what first mover status means to you.
I think in general terms, it's like the ability to be able to make the change and to overcome challenges. But I think the fact that it implies that others may follow, it kind of gives a certain responsibility for these changes to be for the greater good of someone or something. And so I kind of feel it carries a lot of responsibility through the channeling of being a first mover or moving forward in a first mover status.
Do you think you're a first mover?
I don't think I am. I think GoLightly as a community to a certain extent would be. I think the idea of a new vacation rental platform or the idea of women championing other women and supporting each other is definitely not a first move status in today's society anyway. However, I do believe that the growth and passion behind a lot of our members, for example, giving strength to overcome challenges of merging those two sort of, say, titans together, the vacation rental community and women supporting women and putting it into a platform potentially is as a community, yes.
And I'm not sure our listeners are necessarily familiar with GoLightly. It's a vetted network of women who list their properties on the platform, and those properties can then be booked by over 10,000 members in almost 100 countries. And I'm curious where the idea for this, do you remember where you were when you first started crystallizing this concept?
Oh yeah, and crystallizing is a good because crystal clear. And I remember I had a bad experience on a big platform. I've been vacation rental host since back in the sort of owners direct days, and I had listing in London that I had recently like got ready to put up as a vacation rental, and a guy booked it, and it was the usual horror story that you kind of read in the Daily Mail or any paper that they had a massive party. I got calls like by the police and everything at 3 a.m. He had stolen everything. When I turned up the next day, everything was trashed. I mean, it couldn't have been a worse scenario. It's like even photo frames and TVs, even furniture. Microwave was the only one that they kept, but they stole the toaster, the everything. Just everything was gone. And in like one swoop of like 3 days, like my whole like dream of having that set up as a vacation rental was ruined. And I started thinking to myself, I've been a host for a while. This was in 2017, so I'd been a host already for like 10 years. And to have that as a kind of like, that was me trying to grow and have more vacation rentals and things. It was a big blow to where I wanted to go. So I started thinking, like, everybody always talks about women traveling safely. I'm a big traveler. I love traveling the world and everything. And there's always a lot of news about women traveling safely around the world. I felt that as a women host, I felt like I just wanted a little bit more accountability. And it was the time when like women's communities were kind of thriving, and I was members of these networks, and I felt very safe being in. So merging the two together created a platform where it's a vacation rental platform for women. So all members are women. However, you can travel with whomever you wish. So we still have like family bookings, and we still have other things. But the concept is that there's accountability between members. So it's a network where women can discuss and chat about travel and chat about where they want to go, and be able to like highlight certain areas and get certain information from each other. At the same time, they can book their accommodations. We have many women who travel as families but also want to do their solo travel, and so they can sort of feel safe doing so around the world. So it came at that point. It was me at that point thinking, I want to continue doing vacation rentals, but I don't feel safe doing so. There's not really much out there as a safe network for women, and I felt it would be good to try and set something up doing so.
And I think like a lot of really good ideas, um, they spark, you're excited about them, you're like, oh, I can actually do this. And then typically, once someone actually begins trying to plan it out and executing this idea, things fall apart one way or another. What were your steps after realizing that this could be a business concept?
Well, we were quite lucky because we went to Austin. So myself and my co-founder went to Austin, where we were introduced to someone in the ex-VRBO community, and he introduced us to a lot of the ladies in the VRBO community who'd built it up, and HomeAway. And so they came on, and as our advisors, they were very excited about it, which gave us kind of the drive. And I think this is where it comes. It's like the having that was like a mini almost community giving us encouragement to be able to move forward with the idea. It was sort of having that encouragement behind us helped us to move forward and build the idea into a community that could actually exist and go forward. And we actually launched in January 2020. And obviously that was a month before COVID. So not to bring up the bad word, but it wasn't the easiest time to launch in that respect. But to get we seem to have a lot of interest and a lot of excitement of hosts and members alike coming to us to find a community where they had that excitement to be able to even dream by looking through vacation rental homes and whilst they couldn't travel themselves.
And I think a lot of times when people say, oh, we need a new listing site because we're not happy with the percentages that are being taken, or we're not happy with the priorities of the listing site on our behalf. When they say we need a new listing site, they think to themselves, we need a new VRBO or we didn't need a new Airbnb. But in your case, it was we need a niche. And I'm curious, are the economies of that business model so much different than trying to offer a little bit of everything to everybody? Like, is there a greater chance for success? Are you focused more on single use cases than perhaps trying to just scale and create the next VRBO?
I think niches can seem a little frightening at first and daunting, obviously because it's a niche, but I think they feel mighty when you're within it because you have a community that's building around it. It definitely building this community and seeing reasons, the reasons of being people coming towards a community in a niche like us. And this would go for any niche and any like-minded community that built up out there, is the loyalty that exists. We have members who will come to us looking for somewhere, and if that booking may not go through because there was someone's calendar wasn't updated or something, they will want to look for somewhere else within our community, and they will always come back because of that. So they come back for repeat bookings because they feel the confidence in what's being provided through the niche. And I think repeat bookings for a start is a big one, and because of that like-minded community in that respect.
Is that like a litmus test that you would use for a niche? Is how many people come back?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. To see the the sort of how do you say it? It's not passionate. It's the need to come back and support the community. So I mean, again, like, not too much about us, but in our respect, as I mentioned before, it's like safety. It's about feeling the safety when you travel and when you host. So having that within a whole community of, let's say, 10,000 women, which we are now, it's everybody's in there for a like-minded mission and community. So they want to support that mission, and we don't sit there and take huge fees. In fact, we have some of the lowest fees for the reason that we want to support the mission. We want everyone to feel that they can travel safely around the world, and every host be able to do so. We have members within the niche who might not consider traveling unless they feel safe to do so or want to support other women.
When you begin to see people come back and or stay within the community if exactly what they're looking for is not available, in other words, trust the niche that you have built, do you think of other niches that could very easily follow the same dynamics outside of women friendly?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they already exist in some respects, but perhaps in smaller communities. I do believe there is a need for many niches to build up around it. I mean, I think as far as women wanting to travel safely around the world and wanting to even support other women, obviously, I think that this is that's why we started it, and that's where it will go. I do believe that niches in general have a place in the society today, and I think it's more because some of the bigger platforms have become a little bit anonymous. And I never want to say like, oh, take away anything. Oh, well, don't like the big. Absolutely, the bigger platforms have they are the first mover statuses of like the vacation rental industry, really. Because I mean, they brought everyone together, all these little sites, and made them into one big thing, and basically got the message out there to the outreach growth, basically out there to people in who can travel now. That's made vacation rental a huge industry. So I do believe that they are brilliant for that reason, and don't want to slate them. But I do believe behind them can come niches where, and the niches can grow in the respect of going in a direction that allows people to feel they can travel within a like-minded uh, community of others. And I mean, they already exist in some respects. The LGBTQ community have, I think, a couple, and I think it's many communities out there are starting up to see the niches perform there. And again, I think it comes down to trust and safety. And even if we can say a lot of the big listings on the big sites, a lot of listings there are safe, which I agree they are. It's a feeling of safety. It's a feeling of being part of a community. And think about yourself in a local community where you go to your local store and you everything, you feel safe in that community. So being able to share that with someone that you have a like-minded passion with could potentially lead to them feeling safe in the same community, and the idea of being able to share that. So I think that's where we want to grow for in our niche, and I think that's where the niches will succeed in that respect.
People who are running vacation rental businesses and who want to get more niche perhaps is looking inward and figuring out what problem do you have when you travel, or what passion do you have that you'd love to align with when you travel, whether it's a pet friendly
Absolutely.
niche because you love your doggy and you have trouble finding a place for that accommodates your doggy, whether you love golf and you have trouble finding a vacation rental that's located or made for golf courses or golfers. I do think looking inward and really channeling what is this thing that you're passionate about or that the problem that you have is a nice way to begin.
Yeah, and we saw connection based on um, so on GoLightly, everybody has a profile, and it's the idea is that you can kind of get to know someone a bit. They write a bit about themselves, and you know, hosts and guests alike. So we found people connecting over pickleball. I don't really, being a Brit, I don't know a lot about pickleball, but it connected them, and bookings happened because of their profile written about how much they like pickleball. So it can go down to a very personal local level on that respect. And it's really, lovely to see. And, it encourages, like, members to feel that they are home in a sense when they're traveling.
And is this good advice for somebody even who's just using a listing site, for instance, to look at your About Us and your property description and to be extra personal and maybe even a little bit vulnerable with your personal information? Or is there a line there that is uncomfortable to cross?
So I can speak to what we see, and I know that a lot of sites have taken the kind of like personal side away from it, but we definitely see that the more personal, like a profile, and obviously, like, not to overshare or anything, but more personal and little tips, and like we have a little section where people can give little tips of, it's like your 5 tips in your local communities, like, so you can see like where their favorite bar is or what their favorite food to eat in the local areas, that kind of, it personalizes it, and I would definitely say it's kind of a nice tip. And I see it in a lot of like the vacation rental sites, the property management sites, the About Us page, and listing more about the the owners, the managers, like, it's so lovely to see because it kind of gives a personal feel, and that's again the core of the industry, really. So I do believe, yes, to add more to an About Us page about who you are, rather than the going back to sort of standardization, and you know being lost behind not knowing who people are. I think that definitely helps a lot of people, and I can speak to, again, women booking. It's definitely helps women to book, and since women do 80% of the booking, I would say, yeah, I think it is a good thing to have.
Is that true about the broader market, that women do the majority of the booking, or that specifically on GoLightly?
No, in trap, no, women do all the booking and go lightly, but
Right. I was saying
so
like maybe 20% slip through the cracks.
yeah, exactly, Matt. You can come and have a no. The no, it's 80% of the booking in general. It was I think it's a Booking.com study. It's a couple of years ago, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a huge driver in the market is women. They plan the travel, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of people out there will understand that, like, they let their significant women, others, like, you know wives, mothers, they plan all the trips. Like, it's general, they accept, like, it goes along, and that's a very big generalization, but yeah, women tend to do most of the booking and planning of trips.
I have a friend who is a big fan of this travel company. The name escapes me at the moment, but they put on these really neat trips to new destinations each year. They're small groups, I think between 10 and 15 people. And by making it so specific for us, they're designed for women, making it so specific, making it so curated. Um, Something about it really seems like it's so much easier for somebody to connect, to say, oh yes, that's exactly for me, or perhaps more importantly, that's not for me. And sometimes I wonder if the best kind of marketing is actually explaining who's not made for your service or product.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I 100% agree with that. I mean, I think it's definitely for people who, for us, for example, it's definitely people who understand and want to represent accountable women in their areas, and be able to, like, personalize it in that respect. I mean, and the bookings, the return bookings, and all that, I mean, it's a vetted community, so it sort of feels that level of trust there. But I think in general, being able to say to people, like, yeah, it might not be for you, in everything in life. Like, I think in everything in life, like, being able to educate and say, this is what we are, this is who we are, and this is right for you or not for you, and being able to move forward with that, I think, is the best way. It goes back to the level of, the more you educate people and the more you tell them, and even on listings, like, the more you tell a guest about the listing, negative or positive, when they're booking, they're excited to book. The more they see, the more, and we always tell our hosts this, put more on, put everything on, because the more you put on at that stage, the more they are likely to book based on them wanting to have a 5-star experience. They'll be happy to accept it because they've accepted it at that point. Hearing afterwards is very difficult. It's very difficult for a guest because it brings a, like, negative connotation to, why didn't you tell me at the beginning? So I do believe, like, listings and everything need to be very clear.
One of our best pieces of content when I was running my vacation rental business was a blog titled "The 10 Reasons Why our neighborhood, Casco Viejo, is not for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it was quite a unique little neighborhood, and it was developing. It was a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but it was still in the process of reinventing itself. And one of the things was like, if you need valet parking, chances are Casco Viejo is not for you. If you need room service, chances are this neighborhood isn't for you. If you don't like the idea of stray dogs running around, this neighborhood is probably for you. And almost more um, impressive than the people who read this and said, okay, this neighborhood is definitely not for us. We're going to go stay downtown, which was, by the way, great for us because we didn't have to deal with the wrong fit, were these people who said, I read that post and oh my God, this neighborhood is totally for me.
Because it's all the questions they ask, right? To bring it into a like personal level. It's that like it's what I like. And if you're telling me what I don't like or what people don't like, and I'm like tick tick tick, I want to be in another neighborhood, that's fine. But if it's like, oh, actually I don't like any of those either, I'm gonna fit in really well. It sounds like I can imagine like that would drive me to book in an area like that too.
I want to talk a little bit about tools and technology. I've been finding myself using the phrase tech enabled hospitality a lot lately, both to underscore that which makes the best and the largest vacation rental businesses different from hotels, but also really trying to find what is the balance for a smaller player between tech and this thing that is their ultimate differentiator, which is their unique style of hospitality. So, how are you seeing the industry evolve through this tech enabled hospitality lens? And is there anything you think people need to be careful of or watch out for so not to lose the character that makes them different to begin with?
Well, I have a kind of view on this that tech is obviously very important for this industry because it's growing in that respect and it's becoming more of a tech industry as well. It's like a hybrid of tech meeting hospitality now. And I think that actually is important for personality to be able to shine through the use of tools. I do believe tools in that whole tech enabled hospitality sector is, the VR sector basically is important for people to be able to not focus on the stuff that can be done through AI and through tech, but focus on the stuff where it brings us back to that whole point. I'm going like back to that community, back to the local, back to the personalization of being a good property manager, being able to run your home or your place as though it is somebody else's home, and they come in and it will give you more of a chance to kind of believe that there's a 5-star review at the end of it, or whatever it is that you look to achieve in that, to repeat guests through direct bookings or through however it is. But I do believe that the tools and the tech enable someone to do that job better, and I do believe there's a balance on how big you go and how small you might be in respect of bringing on a lot of the tools, because there really are a massive amount of tools out there and it's fantastic. I mean, as a platform, the tools and the tech integrations are the like big part of it, because we realize there are many property managers, and property managers scaling and getting bigger, like they need those tools to be able to keep their focus on the core business, which is the hospitality touch of it all. So yeah, for us, we want to put those tools in place so that property managers who would come on board, and I believe this is the same with every platform, um, so that one, they can grow easily, and two, there's a seamless part on the side of like being able to get out there, being able to get their name out there, being able to actually grow, and they can focus on the actual important part of the business, which is the guests and everyone coming to stay, booking, and actually feeling that personal touch when they do, which brings the vacation rental space into its own, really.
You must see a lot of reviews. You oversee a lot of transactions, a lot of bookings. What are some of those personal touches that seem to shine through that even if you have the best tech in the world, still need to be championed front and center?
You mean like by way of stays, like when you stay? I think for us, a lot of our community like the fact that there is an accountable member, like someone on the ground there, whether, someone that they can talk to about the area, someone who's familiar with the area that they're going to. So I think their local kind of like knowledge. And I do also believe that like everybody loves a little gift or something, or some kind of, welcome to say hi. Like we always encourage our members, we send them gifts as well to be there when they arrive. So I think there's personal touches, and it's touches that would vary. I don't think I could say that this is the one thing that might work for everyone in the world, because in different areas and with different guests, I think the fact that you can kind of be on the ball with who is arriving, for us, we see that they interact, they exchange, they give advice, they can tell each other about the areas and like local information, which helps before they even go there. So I think for us, that's how it works, and it varies from place to place on how. I mean, we have members who meet up, we have members who don't meet up. So it just varies on that respect for us. But I do believe that any kind of personal touch where somebody believes that, there is somebody there who understands them, whether it's a message or whatever it is, and whatever comes to the sort of manager at the time, the host at the time, I think would be the important touch there to just make someone feel at home.
Here are two tools that epitomize the theme of first mover status, the kind of products and services that actually give you unfair advantages over your competition. Point Central provides smart property solutions for smart vacation property managers. They help streamline operations, protect the property, and enhance the guest experience using keyless access. Why? Because guests are tired after traveling, duh. And being able to go directly to that property with keyless access instead of stopping at a manager's office, this is no longer a luxury. This is a standard practice. Plus, everybody loves avoiding extra trips due to lost keys, not to mention the constant cost of rekeying. Point Central partners stay aware with an activity log of who enters and leaves the property, which helps keep track of cleaning and maintenance crews as well. You can also gain control of your utility bills with their smart thermostats. Schedule set points so guests won't be able to drastically raise or lower the temperatures, for instance. You can ensure the temperature stays consistent when the unit is vacant. Prevent costly maintenance projects caused by water leaks, mold, or HVAC issues with real-time alerts that allow you to be proactive. Visit pointcentral.com/VRMB to learn more. And Breezeway, whose property care and operations platform helps you coordinate, communicate, and verify the detailed work and deliver the best service experience to your guests. With tools for intelligent task scheduling, quality assurance, real-time work coordination, guest messaging, supplies management, owner reporting, and more, oh my! Breezeway helps thousands of short-term rental managers and hospitality operators increase your operational efficiency and eliminate hours of manual work. This allows you to boost your service revenue. It was created by the founding team of FlipKey, which was since acquired by TripAdvisor, and Breezeway is just elevating the experience at every property they touch. Visit breezeway.io/VRMB and get implementation fees waived. That's a $1,000 value right there. Okay, let's get back to the show.
This wonderful idea that you've got, this wonderful niche, this wonderful feedback, I'm guessing, from your earliest bookings that it is what they were looking for. What happens, give me an example, with a challenge of growing a business like this, or a speed bump or an obstacle that maybe you're still trying to work through?
I think the fact that, one, being the first to put women and vacation rentals, even though I believe the vacation rental industry is a huge amount of women in it, I do believe that it's still led predominantly by men, and that is changing, which is a good thing. So I think that there's, it's putting it together and facing challenges from that respect, but also facing challenges from the fact that we are growing in a tech enabled as you mentioned, like tech enabled society, and having to keep up with that tech as you grow. Obviously, as a startup who hit COVID, and the, obviously not to go to the big C word, but it wasn't an easy ride doing that, which is really how we found out. And in fact, in hindsight, seeing it, how we found out that community is a big driver of it all, because our community kept us going. They really did. They started coming into us having like this need for hosts who felt like they wanted a community where people understood them and could grow with. That was a big thing. So
And if so, you consider this is a technology company, right?
yes, yeah, I believe it's a technology company that basically provides community through it.
And then, so what are the metrics that you look at? Um, you know that the idea is good and you know you need to scale it to a point where it makes money. But what are some of the core metrics that you're looking at regularly to make sure that you're still staying true?
Oh, I mean, the focus is purely on the bookings and the growth. So the growth in listings, the growth in members, that's the ultimate focus behind it. But then, on the other side of it, we like to listen to our members and find out exactly what they want and how they want to see us grow. And again, it's as I come back to this community, which I'm sure is, like I've probably said a million times already, but the fact that a community, and I've had conversations with yourself and other people about DAOs and things like that. This community is a big driver for business nowadays, I think. And I think that the fact that community itself can speak to what and how things should grow or businesses should scale is a very big factor in the scaling of those business. So it's kind of like a roundabout thing. I think if a community can say what they need and say what they want and be listened to, I think it definitely will scale and grow a business better and be a much faster forward growth for a company. And I think, that's where I guess we've been lucky, maybe with the whole pandemic and everything. It's like we've been able to slow down and listen to our community a lot more as we grow and see what they like. So yeah, core business is bookings and listings and, running as a vacation rental platform. We do have the external factors, like, we have a social platform within our site where members can ask questions to each other when they travel. They can highlight their own businesses. They could, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, and they can, and so there's, that's part we launched because of our community asking for it. The solo tours is another one that we've launched as part of it. So you grow, scale little parts out of it because of what they ask for, but the cool business is that they want to rent properties off other women. They want to support women when they travel around the world. They want to know that their money is going towards empowering and helping women, like supporting other women. And I think that's a big part of it.
Do you think that I'm guessing in order to be a member, there's an application process?
Yes, and members who, well, so we have like an invite policy where members invite their friends to join, and there's also an application policy where they are called by, if they want to apply, they are called by a member of our team.
Do you think that having that application process, and I'm now asking you to remove your GoLightly hat for a minute, does having some kind of hurdle that a customer, whether it's a guest or a homeowner, needs to jump over in order to get into your community? Is that a universal kind of technique, do you think?
I would actually say it. Do you think it's unique? And you think it's a universal technique to grow, or is it like? Do you think it's like a marketing technique in that respect?
Well, one of the things I've noticed with VRMB, for instance, is somebody who comes into our ecosystem and immediately demands all of the answers to their questions, hasn't really read through any of the things that we actually do, is a very frustrating person to interact with, very difficult compared to the person who knows exactly what we do, who has read some of our material, maybe has listened to a podcast like this, is calibrated, is happy to share a little bit of information about themselves to see if they are the right fit. It just makes for much more lovely and consistent kind of community member. So I'm just wondering if somebody is now thinking about their niche, if there's some kind of obstacle or some kind of hurdle that can be used to perhaps weed out someone who's not the right fit.
Well, I think you can think of it that way. You can also think of it the way that and again, not with the GoLightly hat, like, because obviously for growth and things, you don't want those hurdles there in that respect. But like everything you just said there, and the fact that you you don't want someone who just comes in because they want to check out what's going on. You want someone who has to put an effort in. It's a bit like, the effort you put into something, the more gracious you feel about it at the end of it, in life in general, right? I mean, the more we put into something, the more we feel like the bigger the workout, the more you feel, I feel great afterwards in that respect. Like, the more you put in, the more you get out. So I do believe that the more information they can share, or the more the more they can have to go through these hurdles, members, I believe they're more committed to it in general. So I do believe it in turn will lead them to want to be part of the community more, because they've already shared it. They've been through a bigger hurdle to get into it, and they'll give back to the community because of that, in whatever way it is, either by booking, listing, or sharing. And then it grows from there. It's like the loyalty with that would be that they'd come back because they'd always want to check what's going on. And I think that's important with VRMB, with anything. I think, like, especially with VRMB, it's like you do want them to know about the community, and you do want them to know exactly how it runs. Otherwise, you just get people who are just checking it out for fun, right?
And what's the line between that, which I think everybody listening is in agreement with, and discriminating?
Discriminate. Oh, so like in terms of males.
Well, I wasn't exactly even thinking.
Yeah, no, but it's obviously like one of the questions we get a lot. So men can travel within our community. So although women are part of the network, and believe me, I come from England, where we have the old boys clubs where they have men only clubs everywhere. So as we're a private club and it's women are part of the network, they can still travel with men, and any man can travel along with a woman at any point. So discrimination in that respect is not an issue there, because it's private spaces and it's growing, and that men can travel with women. But I think you can come down to discrimination. I think in public spaces, I think it can grow in issues if there is more of a niche that is serving a different purpose in that respect.
Yeah, like I was thinking about some of my favorite destinations, some of my favorite real life communities, where when you go, they've done all the community members have done such a nice job of getting on the same page with regards to mindset, with regards to values, with regards to contributing and sustainability. Um, but I think inherent to that, to some degree, is rejecting some person type or visitor type who's not the right fit for them. And I was just wondering, what's the best way to sort of justify that without excluding people?
I agree with that, and I think the important thing is, like, again, I can speak to what we see, and what Go Lightly is we accept all women. So anyone who wants to travel the world safely in that respect, like it is. And like you say, the whole concept of discrimination comes from a community build and someone feeling left out, and you don't want that, right? But if they want to be within the community, it's accepted that they should be in the community. And I think if everybody's on the same mission of safe travel for women, I think it grows from there, like all women. And again, I speak to us, but I can see how, yeah, it would grow from there. And as long as the community is not discriminating about someone based on someone who wants to be part of it, I think it's a safe way to move forward with a niche or a community.
And if you are part of the men side of this equation, we've had plenty of men only groups over the course of history.
I see that, and I mean, I don't see it as a. I don't think any man. I think, yes, it's definitely something that would come up by way of this. People want to see it as an issue, but I don't think it's an issue when it comes to the fact where you think of women do need to travel safe around. You think of the real core problem, the mission behind it. It's not a discrimination against men. It's
Right.
and not focusing on the negative, because that is a negative. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
someone coming in like, oh, I'm a man, or can't, and it's not that. It's like, you can travel. We're not, we don't. I love men. We don't hate men. We really do want men to be part of it. But the idea is, like, how do we bring these women who don't feel safe to travel within a world and bring them into a community, or feel safe to host their homes. A single mother with a child who wants to, like, host the vacation rental on their property, anything like that. It's like, how do they feel safer doing so, and how can we bring them into, so they can supplement incomes, they can build their entire portfolio, however it is. I do believe that there should be a space for women to be able to do that. And again, I go back to the fact that I come from England. There's old boys clubs everywhere where women aren't allowed even to go in. I think there's even one club, and I can't remember what it's called, maybe Boodles or something, that where the Queen even can't go into the main room. She had to go and give a speech in a separate room downstairs, like the communal room where women are accepted. Like, yeah, so things do need to change. And whilst that change is going on, we need to, accept that there are some places where people need to feel safer.
Are you familiar with this investor, Arlen Hamilton?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, I've been following her for a little while, and she has this wonderful quote. She says, "Be yourself so the people looking for you can find you."
Oh, I love that.
And I think it plays perfectly into this niche value proposition. It's not about excluding as much as it is identifying something that has been overlooked for so long and clarifying exactly who that is, so that other people who might feel that way are attracted to it, as opposed to the other way around.
I 100% agree with that. And I mean, and testimony, it speaks to itself. It's like, we had, in fact, when we first launched, is an interesting one. We, on Twitter, some men were saying, but this isn't, it's discrimination.
Of course, it would be on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. Elon, Elon,
Right.
Elon's going to stop all that. But no, some guys were saying, like, it's discrimination, and it's not, because it's private spaces. But going back to that, what they said, they were just sort of shot down by a ton of women who just went on there and were like, just leave us alone, oh, go cry yourself a river. Like, the point is, that shows the need for it. Testimony is us growing to 10,000 members through a pandemic. Like, testimony is there, like, that it is needed. And that, again, going back to discrimination is a negative, and I don't believe it should ever exist in the world. Look at the positive side of community growth, and communities are like-minded, and people, like, that's where it has to come in from, not from a negative perspective.
Yeah. And communities are solving real problems, which is always much more pleasant to be around than people who are purely complaining.
Yeah, and if you bring more people to the table, and not just in a business perspective, but being able to do things that they want to do, live in a world that's free of judgment and free of any of that, like, live in a world where they can be who they want to be, and, be themselves, like that Arlene, mentions. But if you can help point a little bit towards that and provide people with that, I think, you're on a right track. I really do. I believe, in general, in any niche, in any community, in any person's life, if you can point towards, that and inclusion there, like, I do believe that's a big part of us being on this planet. And everyone has a mission.
And do you have people who reach out and say, we booked a random property off a listing site and it's not exactly as we expected? Do you have anything? Do you have that?
You asked that question. I have, we have 4 stories in the last 3 weeks, uh, 4 weeks. Yeah, one was, it was, and it's like sad stories when you actually think about it. It's just like, they booked on a bigger site, and a while back, like a year ago or something, and ready for the pandemic to be over, and booked, and they turned up. I was in Europe, which is booming for some reason at the moment. But anyway, it was in Europe for retirees, women, and in their 60s. And they landed, and obviously wherever they booked didn't exist. And it was their bucket list trip. They had, planned this for ages. Anyway, we managed to kind of get them situated. They reached out to us saying, like, do you have anyone in the community? And the great thing about the community is sometimes we reach out to, like, hosts and property managers who will find spaces for them through their network of friends and other property managers in the area. So, and another one was in Italy, where someone turned up and their property was covered in scorpions.
Covered in scorpions?
Scorpions, yeah, had an infestation of scorpions.
Oh my God.
And I believe like these end up, yeah, I mean, that's obviously something, I don't know, that's extraordinary to me, but I think it was in Italy. And then another one where they cancelled 2 days before. This member, she was going on a solo trip, was going to travel, and she was on her way to Europe and had this massive, like 80% of our members are in the States. So when they do a trip to Europe, just to put this in perspective, it's a big trip because they're traveling. It's not just driving across borders or something. It's they're flying to, a long way to go there and to have those kind of disasters. So anyway, we have a concierge service where this managed to put people last minute in places and help them out where we can. So it's nice to do so, and again, it creates that customer loyalty for that. But I do believe these like few bad eggs, they sometimes can really be detrimental to the industry because they're not typical, like the typical, and that's why the property managers are amazing and brilliant to deal with, because we know they kind of look after their places. They have a hospitable sense about them. And it's like, you don't want a bad egg to ruin that, because it is a huge industry, and a lot of these platforms, you know, have issues like that when they grow to this anonymity of huge levels.
So are most of the people who are listing, if I'm a property manager and I manage 20 properties, for instance, and I'm a woman, I can become a member of GoLightly?
Yeah, of course. And yeah, women, or yeah, sometimes you have couples where the woman lists because she's the accountable member there. So yeah.
And so does that then integrate with the property management software that I'm using?
Yes.
So it just becomes an additional channel.
Yeah, exactly. It's just an additional channel to switch on. So, and those softwares are amazing. I'm so impressed by all the like all the tech in the industry. It's just, I love it. It's fantastic. Like, it's the growth and the kind of adaptability of all these softwares isn't amazing. I do believe that's a huge driver in the industry growth.
When I was running my vacation rental business in Panama, there were two listing site stories that told completely different tales. The first was a gay friendly listing site. It was called Gay Travel, I believe, or was it Purple Roofs, I believe. That was, we had been added to the platform because the previous owners were a gay couple. And of course, renewed that listing because it was such a great driver of really quality travelers who came and said, there's nowhere else listed in all of Panama City where I can feel safe. So that was like a really strong lesson in niches and identifying a need. But the other story was we decided to experiment and list on Expedia. Oh, no, it was booking.com. We decided to experiment on booking.com. And because Booking hadn't really done anything with vacation rentals, our listing was basically lumped in as a hotel. And the bookings that came through in that first week were such poor fits. They were coming in at last minute. They had no idea what the neighborhood was about. If they had only read my 10 reasons why this is not for you blog post. And it was miserable for all of us, them included, because we would then have to reroute them to a hotel downtown that was a better fit. And we, of course, pulled the plug on that listing site immediately. But it just kind of showed the big contrast between a channel that is quality over quantity in our space that's so personal. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It's the quality over the quantity that's the important side of understanding niches. It's not, you know, we don't look out to compete with Airbnb in this sense of getting thousands of bookings, but you do know that when you do get a booking, and that's why the niches are good to turn on in that respect. You do get a booking, you will understand the guest, you will have vetted guests, and I think in any niche, and you will, get on with the guests in that respect. I do think it's important to have the ability to, open your horizons, expand your markets there, and that's where this tech has enabled us to do this.
What were you doing before you started this?
I was in tech. I was in health tech, actually. I'd started up a online pharmaceutical company in the UK and Europe, actually. So yeah. So I'd been in tech for a while.
And can we give a shout out to James?
Yes, I'd love to. Yeah, my co-founder James, exactly.
And where did you guys meet?
So James and I met, I think 19 years ago now, in New York, and he was working for the BBC at the time and going to the UK. And he ended up in the UK working near me, and I was like, oh, come and join, and basically, again, going back to community, we kind of included him in all that, and it was so much fun. And and now James and his he understood the whole niche of this. When I talked to him about what happened to me and growing this sort of women's business, he understood it all because of the because he's part of an LGBTQ one, which him and his boyfriend travel around the world and feel safe doing so. So he understood of the niche, the need for the niche, basically.
That probably should have come at the beginning, but it's actually a neat way to give context in your guys' partnership and what drew you together in the first place with this journey that you guys are on now. Any big plans for GoLightly in the coming year?
Growth. A lot of growth. That's our exciting part now. Is like to take it to another level. So yeah, I mean, we want to expand to more countries and, plan to have to expand our members as well. So there'll be a lot coming.
And so if people are not using, well, I assume if they are using a property management software that you integrate, fantastic. If they're not even using a property management software yet, they can still add their listing?
Oh, it's a very simple listing process. Yeah. Yeah. It's very simple and very easy to do. And we have our customer service is brilliant. So there's always questions being answered at all times of day. So it's great because obviously now we have members in 95 countries, over 95 countries now. I grew up in a place called, lived in a place called Vanuatu in the South Pacific. And we found out that we had members joining from there, our vetting community was calling them. And I was like, no way, that's the South Pacific. That's where I used to live. It's a little island in the middle of nowhere. I was like, the fact that they're talking about GoLightly there, it made me cry. I was just like, that's fantastic. Another woman looking for a safe place to travel. It's and that's why it's that's why these niches work, because people feel a sense of familiarity with it, and they want to be part of it because they want to, feel like that when they travel too.
I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. My big takeaway is that there's riches in niches, and that the smaller your vacation rental company is, the easier it is for you to benefit from niche vacation rental marketing. In fact, to go a few episodes back, in episode 91 of our podcast, Carl Shepard, the co-founder of HomeAway, said he thought that niches were the single biggest room for opportunity for any small player in the vacation rental space over the course of the next few years. To follow that up, in episode 97, Anthony Gant of At Ease taught us that niches can solve the challenges of military personnel and their families, something that Anthony was dealing with himself. And from Victoria, we learned that oftentimes it's these obvious things that we have within that we tend to overlook when marketing ourselves to new guests. And that when we take off that niche marketing hat that I asked you to put on at the beginning and take a step back, we have to ask ourselves, have we identified with clarity and precision our niche? Are we part of that niche, ideally? Do we speak expressly to that niche, authentically? Do we help people not in that niche understand that maybe we're not the best fit for them? Have we doubled or even tripled down on that niche before opening up and chasing greener pastures? These are the questions that should get you moving towards your future of vacation rental hospitality, feeling mighty from within. And you heard Victoria mention it, but I'm very passionate about community too. I manage a private forum with over 1,000 like-minded independent owners and managers who are all building limited edition vacation rental businesses, and we're doing it together. You can sign up at vrmb.com/membership. And before I forget, we got a new review. This is very exciting. I've got a huge smile on my face. Our latest review says, Matt delivers not only practical tips, he ushers listeners into a deeper conversation that reveals meaning behind our work. I continue to enjoy and benefit from the conversational approach and brilliant insights that go beyond a list of top 10 ideas. The unique pulse Matt has on the industry and how we must capture the opportunities we have to add value to our guests, employees, owners, and community. How about that? Such beautiful words. Now, it was written by someone named Goodwin Family 7, which makes me think it was Tom Goodwin, who was featured on last week's episode, which feels a little bit like when my mom bought my auction item in middle school. But that's okay. A review is a review. If you would be interested in leaving a review, we will mention it in a future episode and consider naming your company so that we can share that with the world. Until next time.
Growing restless in the way, searching for a brighter day.